All right, so today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a very simple and easy fish habitat, just like this one right here, out of a 5-gallon bucket, some concrete, and some irrigation tubing. And this fish habitat right here, it's very great for lakes, ponds, pretty much anywhere to help, support fish populations and provide habitat from their predators and provide nesting grounds. You can make as many of these as you want. Normally put them in groups of 2 or 3, just that way they cover a bigger area to provide more habitat and hiding spaces for the fish to hang out and live. So let's get started. All right, so for this project, you are going to need a 5-gallon bucket and lid, about a 1/4 bag of Quikrete fast setting concrete, which I have filled in the 5-gallon bucket to about 2 inches to 2.5 inches on the bottom of the bucket. And then you are also going to need 100 feet of 1/2-inch drip irrigation tubing, which are you going to cut into 20 5-foot sections. And then in terms of tools that you're going to need for this project, you're going to need a drill with a 3/4 inch drill bit, and then a cutting tool. You can either use scissors or a pipe cutter, and then also a stirring stick that you can use to mix the concrete. All right, so to get started, you're going to want to fill your 5-gallon bucket up with about 2 to 2.5 inches of the Quikrete concrete mixture in the bottom of your bucket. So fill that up in there. You'll see it fills about to this mark right here on the bucket. And then you're going to slowly add water to this mixture in order to get a nice workable concrete mixture and to saturate the concrete. So you're just going to want to slowly add the water in while mixing until you get a nice mixture going in the bucket. So slowly add water until it all kind of absorbs into the concrete mixture, and then add more if needed. And you can either use a hose for this, or I have a bucket on the side that I'm using since that's closer than trying to get a hose. I'm also doing it on top of a piece of wood just in case I end up spilling over a little bit. That way I don't have to worry about spilling at all too much. And it may be kind of hard to mix, but just keep mixing and digging into the bottom so all of the concrete mixture is getting saturated by the water. You just want to make sure you get water all in there. And just keep mixing until you get a nice firm paste. I think I'm going to add in a little bit too much water, so make sure you're just going at it slowly so you don't add too much. You just keep mixing until you get a nice paste. So you really don't need much water to add into here, but if you do end up adding a little bit too much water, that's okay. Just don't add too much. Otherwise, the concrete isn't going to set correctly. You're just going to have a big soupy mess on your hands. And once you're done mixing it all together, it's all mixed, all the powder is mixed in, kind of like if you're making pancake batter. You want to make sure everything's mixed in and consistent, same consistency, everything's wet and saturated. You're going to want to leave it out in the sun to dry for about 30 minutes. So while you're waiting for your Quikrete to set in your bucket, it's a great time to go ahead and start cutting up your irrigation tubing into your 5-foot sections. And the best way I've found to do that is just lay out a tape measure. Take one end, set it at the beginning of the tape measure, kind of flatten it out, step on it if you need to, or have a friend help you out and they can stand on one end while you pull it tight to the other end. Go to 5 feet. Doesn't have to be exact, just around there. We're not going for perfection here, but if you want, you can get exactly 5 feet and just cut it at the end. Scissors work great. You can go ahead and repeat that for all of your 20 pieces. So once your concrete is done setting in your bucket, you're going to want to take a 3/4 inch drill bit on your drill and go ahead and just start drilling holes in random places in your bucket. And you're going to want to end up with about 40 holes. So that way your 20 pieces of tubing have a side to go into the bucket and out of the bucket. So you can just start drilling just right above the concrete and just go straight into the bucket. And then just do that all over around the bucket. Just keep going. You're going to want to get different heights so that once you're done inserting all the tubing, you'll have a nice little nest for the fish to go in and swim through. Okay, so once you're done drilling all 40 of your holes in your bucket, you can take your 20 pieces of irrigation tubing and you're going to want to just go in one hole, one side of the bucket, and out another one. And you're going to want to make sure you keep the handle on the top of the bucket. That way you're able to grab it once you're done. So just in one hole, out the other, and pull till it looks like, you know, it's about in the middle of the bucket. And do that with all your pieces. Just keep going around in one hole, out another. You can even weave them together to make sure that, you know, they're going to stay in the bucket and they're not going to end up floating out or getting lost somewhere else once you sink them. So just put them in, out the other hole. Sometimes it might be tight. Just squeeze it in and it should go in there. Remember, keeping the top of the handle, top of the bucket. Just keep going around, put them all in. And do that for all 20 of your pieces of tubing. So once you're done inserting all of your tubing and you have something that resembles something pretty close to this, you can go ahead and just drill a couple more holes, maybe 3 or 4 more holes just in the sides, you know, being careful. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna allow water to come into the bucket when you sink it, so it's easier to sink, and it'll stay under the water and it won't float up with air in it. So just like 3 or 4 more holes. You know, they don't have to be anywhere in particular, just all around the bucket. You know, try to leave space in between the tubing so that way it doesn't crack. And once you got those holes done, you can go ahead and just pop your lid back on the bucket. Once you got the lid back on there, you know, make sure your handle's there up in the center so you can grab it later when you need to sink it. Then you can just kind of move the tubing around, you know, fluff it up a little bit. Just so that way, you know, it creates more of a habitat and, you know, the tubing isn't just bunched in one area. And you're done. You can go ahead and, you know, if you're making more of them, make the rest of them. And if not, you can go ahead and sink them in your lake, pond, favorite fishing spot, pretty much anywhere.